Hello students. So let us see the last chapter, that is chapter 6, regarding the exempt trade, means export and import trade. In this video, I am going to cover the following topics. First one, meaning of foreign trade, need for foreign trade, factors influencing foreign trade, meaning of export trade, and last one, export procedure, which may ask for 14 marks question. So let us see the first topic, that is meaning of foreign trade. So we already know that the trade is nothing but it's an exchange which has been taken place from one place to another place or one country to another country. So trade is nothing but it's an exchange of goods and services from the one party to the another party. So here we are talking about the foreign trade. So foreign trade is nothing but it's a trade between the different countries of the world. And it is also called with the different name like international trade, external trade, or interregional trade. And majorly we in the foreign trade we can see the import, export as well as the entry-port trade. So import is nothing but we are going to purchase the goods from other countries. Export is nothing but we are going to selling the goods to other country. And entry-port trade is nothing but we have purchased the goods from one country and the same goods has been sold to the other country. So that is called as entry-port trade. So next, let us see the topic called as need for foreign trade. That is nothing but why the foreign trade is required. So first one, division of labor and specialization. Means many of the countries they are rich in the different sources or different activities. Means some country may rich in the natural resources and some country may are rich in the skilled employees or skilled manpower. So the country who are rich in the natural resources, they can export their resources to the other country who are rich in the skilled manpower. So they can easily convert the raw materials into goods. And the country who have exported the raw materials, they can import the goods from the other country. So this benefit will be given only in the form of foreign trade. And here they're going to increase or they're getting the benefit called as division of labor and specialization. Means whatever the resources they have available, so that resources or based upon that resources they are going to segregate the labor and they are going to become the specialization. Second, optimum allocation and utilization of the resources. So some of the countries may have the different resources but they don't know how to utilize that resources. So because of the foreign trade they are utilizing the resources in an optimum way and maximally the resources will be utilized by the different countries. So that is due to specialization, unproductive lines can be eliminated and wastage of resources can be minimized or avoided. In other words, resources are channelized for the production of only those goods which would give highest returns. Means any country or the country which is having the benefit, they can produce the goods, and if they don't have any benefit, then they can easily import the goods from the other countries. Next, equality of prices, because the demand and supply of the product will be same. So because of that, the prices of the product will also be constant or equal. Next, availability of multiple choices, because the country or the person who is going to purchase the goods from the other countries, they're getting the benefit called as different options will be available for selection, because they're purchasing the different goods from the different countries and they are getting the different options or different choices. So based upon the requirements or based upon the benefits of the customer, they can purchase the goods. Next, ensures quality and standard goods. So ultimately, when there is a standardization or specialization and division of labor, the goods will be produced in a quality as well as the standard way. And next one, raises standard of living of the people. So standard of living is nothing but the purchasing power of the people, because they are getting the benefit of purchased goods which is required or which is necessary for the customers. So even this time when they are purchasing the goods from the other countries, even the standard of living of the people will be increased. Next, generate employment opportunities. So the foreign trade is not only giving the benefit called as income, but also they are giving the benefit called as employment opportunities. Means the different countries they are going to produce the products and that products will be manufactured by the employees. So they're creating the more and more employment opportunities in the both the countries. Next, facilitate economic development. So it is not only benefit for the country, it is not only benefit for the organizations or the business. So whatever the profit which has been earned by the business or the organizations, a part of profit will be paid in the form of tax to the government. So here the company is not only earning the profit, but also there is an economic development of the country. Next, assistance during natural calamities means whenever any country they are facing the risk or the uncertainties called as either it may be earthquake or it may be floods or it may be famines. In such a situations, they cannot produce the product in their country. So what the country will do or what the nation will do, they are going to import the goods from the other countries at that difficult situation. So this can be happen only with the help of the foreign trade. Without foreign trade, they cannot import the goods from the other countries, like medicines, either it may be food grains or it may be any other necessary requirements. Next, maintains balance of payment position. So whenever the country is going to do the foreign trade, the main aim is to maintain the balance of payment. That is, they need to maintain the balance or they need to maintain the balance of payment position. That is nothing but the country, when they are exporting the goods, the mainly concentration will be given only for the export, not the import. Means they are concentrating only for the increasing the export, not the import. Because when the export is increased or when the export is more than the import, then it will be called as favorable balance of payment. But when the import is more than the export, it will be called as negative balance of payment. So they need to, or with the help of the foreign trade, they can easily maintain the balance of payment position. Next, bring reputations and helps and grow goodwill. So goodwill is nothing but it's a reputation of the company. So when they are going to sell the goods to the other countries or other customers in the different countries, definitely the value of the product will be increased. When the value of the product has been increased, it will have the impact on the goodwill or reputation of the country. And last one, promote world peace. So it is nothing but both the countries or the different countries they are going to do the exchanges with the different nations of the world. So when they are thinking about to do the war with the other countries, definitely for a second or for a while, they think that when they are conducting the war, the product which has been imported from that country will be stopped. So, and the agreements which has been made between the countries will be affected. So, because of that, the world war or the wars will be restricted, and it will promote the world peace. So, these are the different needs for the foreign trade. Next, what are the factors which are influencing the foreign trade? First one, impact of inflation. Inflation is nothing but increasing the prices of the goods. So when the prices of the goods has been increased in the one country, it will have the impact of the purchasing power of the other country customers. Means for an example, the country is in an inflation situation, means they have increased the price of particular product, and that product will be manufactured in that country and it will be purchased in the different countries. So first they have fixed the rate of 100 rupees. Now the customers from the other countries they are buying the product. But due to the sudden situation called as inflation, the prices of the goods has been increased to 200. So definitely it will have the purchasing or the customers from the other country may show hesitation to purchase the goods of that particular country. So it will going to influence the foreign trade. Next, impact of national income. That is, if a country's income level, that is national income, increases by a higher percentage than those of other countries, its current account is expected to decrease. Other things being equal, as the real income level adjusted for inflation rises, so does consumption of goods. A percentage of that increase in consumption will mostly likely reflect on increased demand for foreign goods. So even the impact of national income will influence the foreign trade. Means when we are importing the goods from the other country, we are supposed to pay the amount to the other countries. But when we are increasing the export, we are going to earn the income. So the export as well as the import may have the reflect on the national income. So even the national income will have the impact on foreign trade. Means they will see that whether we need to do the export or whether we need to import the goods from the other countries. Next, impact of government policies. So the major thing or the main thing which is going to influence the foreign trade is that the government policies which has been framed by the different countries' government. Next, subsidies for exporters. So some of the countries they have provided the loan facilities or subsidy facilities for the exporters, not for the importers. So the customers or the organization they're just mainly concentrating for the exporting the goods to the other country rather than importing the goods from the other country. That is, some government offered subsidies to their domestic firms so that those firms can produce the product at a lower cost than the global competitors. Thus, the demand for the export produced by those firms is higher as the result of the subsidies. Many firms in China commonly receive free loans or free land from the government. So the exporters or the manufacturers of the domestic country may get the subsidies from the government. So because of that, it may influence the foreign trade. Means rather than importing the goods from other country, the country people or the manufacturer of the domestic country only they are manufacturing the goods. So it will have the impact on foreign trade. Next, restrictions on import. So many of the country they have given the or they have put on the restrictions on the import. So they're going to mainly concentrate on increasing the export, not the import. So even it will have the impact on the foreign trade. Means the foreign trade will deals with the two concepts. One it is called as export as well as the import. So both has to be balanced. But here they are just giving the restrictions on import, not on the export, because when the country is going to import the goods from other countries, they are supposed to pay the amount. So that is an outflow of money from the country. But when the country has been or they're going to export the goods to other countries, they're getting the income. So that is called as inflow of money. So most of the countries they have given the importance for the export, not for the import. That's why they have given the restrictions on import either in the form of quotas or in the form of taxes or in the form of customs duties. Next, lack of restrictions on piracy. So we already know that the piracy is nothing but just duplication of the product. So even that may also influence the foreign trade, and there is no any proper rules and regulations which has been framed by the country for the control of the piracy of products. That is, in some cases, a government can affect international trade caused by its lack of restrictions on piracy. In China, piracy is very common, that is duplication. Individuals called pirates manufacture CDs and DVDs that look almost like the original products produced in the United States and other countries. Even it will have the impact on foreign trade. Means the the customers in the China they are getting the products within the country rather than importing the products from the USA or other countries because of the piracy. Next one, impact of exchange rates, that is called as fluctuations in the exchange currencies. Means if the country called as India, they need to import the goods from USA, the currency has to be paid in the form of dollar. So $1 is equal to 70 rupees, means for one product they need to pay the 70 rupees. So that will also impact the foreign trade. Next, we have the concept called as meaning of export trade. So to say in simple terms, export trade is nothing but we are just selling the goods to the other country. That is called as export. So export are explained as the goods and services manufactured in one country and acquired by the citizens of another country. Means the goods has been manufactured in India and the same goods has been acquired or purchased by the other country or another country. The export of goods or services can be anything. This trade can be done through shipping, email, transmitted in private language on a plane. So the export can be done through the different forms, either in the form of shipping or in the form of email, or it may be transferred in the private luggage of on a plane. Basically, if the product is manufactured domestically and traded in foreign country, it is known as export. Next important concept for the 14 marks, that is export procedure, because in the previous question papers they has the repeated question, either it may be export procedure or import procedure. So let us see how the export will be done, or what are the procedure or steps we need to follow when we are going to do the export. So the export procedure has been classified into four parts, that is called as preliminary stage, that is before the manufacture of the product. Second one, pre-shipment stage, that is the production stage. Third one, shipment stage, that is the after production we need to do the shipment, either with the or either through the ship, either through the plane, or either through the any other mode of transportation. And post shipment stage means before delivering to the goods, before delivering the goods to the importer, what are the procedure we need to follow. So totally we have four stages. One, it is called as preliminary stages, pre-shipment stage, shipment stage, and post shipment stage. So let us see the first topic or first stage called as preliminary stage. So preliminary stage is nothing but first one, organizing. So if the country want to export the goods to the other countries, the first stage called as preliminary stage, in that the organizing states that the organization has to be established. Means the exporter should have an organization to look after export. Exporters may set up a complete new organization or add on export section to an existing one. Means they need to establish the organization which is completely taken care of the export of the country or export of the goods. At this stage, exporter may take decision to select the right product sell abroad. Means they need to select the which product has to be sold in the foreign countries or abroad countries. After organizing, next registration with the different authorities or various authorities. Means once the organization has been established to do the export of a specific product to the abroad or the foreign countries, now it is a time to get the registration with the different authorities, because we are going to sell the goods not within the domestic country but with the different countries. So we need to register with the different authorities. So let us see what are the authorities. The exporter should register his organization with various authorities. These are as follows. First one, income tax authorities. They need to register with the income tax authorities because they need to get the permanent account number, because the amount will not be directly given for the customer or the organization. The same amount will be transferred to the customer account, and that is liable for the tax or the taxation. So the organization or the exporter should get the permission, or if they are supposed to register with the income tax authorities to obtain the permanent account number. Next, JTDGFT. So it is an organization because they need to register to obtain the importer exporter code number, that is IEC number. So after registering with the income tax authorities, they need to register with the JTDGFT because they need to get the importers exporters code number, because they're going for the or they're going to doing the export with the other country. And next, EPC, to obtain the registration come membership certificate. So there is an council or there is an association which will take care of the export and import, that is called as foreign trade. So in that we need to get the membership certificate. So that is called as EPC is an association, and the certificate called as RCMC, that is registration come membership certificate. And along with that, other authorities such as FIEO, sales tax authorities, chamber of commerce. So all this or with all these authorities we need to get the registration. Next, appointing agent or distributors, because now the country or the organization they have established a new sector or new section to do the export with the other countries, so they may not have the proper idea how to deliver the goods or how to transport the goods from the country to another country. In such a situation, the organization may appoint the agent or distributors. So it is as advisable to appoint agents or distributors in the selected overseas market. The exporter may also open branches or sales divisions or depute permanent representative abroad. Means they are going to appoint the agent or distributor in the other countries, because they can easily export the goods to that agent, and through that agents they can easily sell the goods in the other countries. Next, approaching for foreign buyers, because the major thing when we want to go for the export, that is the customer who is supposed to pay the, or who is supposed to buy the goods, that is called as foreign buyers. So without the foreign buyers or the customers, we cannot, whatever the process or whatever the activities we have taken, it's a waste of time and waste of money. So first we need to approach the foreign buyers. Okay, so that is called as approaching of foreign buyers. The overseas agents or representatives approach foreign buyers with a quotation. So they are going to use the word called as quotation. It is nothing but the budget or the estimation of the value of product or the cost of product. The foreign buyer, if satisfied with the quotation and after clarification, if any, will place an order with the exporter. So by taking all the quotations from the different exporters, if the importer, if he satisfied with the quotation as well as the, if any questions they may have, they will get the clarification from the exporter, and after getting all the clarification, if he is good or if he is satisfied, then definitely you will place the order. So the first stage we start called as preliminary stage. It includes organization, establishment of export section or establishing the organization to do export activities. Next, we need to do the registration with the various authorities, either it may be income tax for getting the PAN number. Next, JT DGFT to obtain the import exporters code number. EPC to obtain the registration cum membership certificate. Other authorities such as FIEO, sales tax authorities, chamber of commerce, etc. After getting the registration with the various authorities, we need to appoint the agent or distributor in the other countries, because we can easily sell the, or we can easily export the goods to that agents, and through that agents they can easily sell the goods to the foreign customers. And after appointing the agent or distributor, now we need to approach the foreign buyers, because they are the customers for the product. So they are going to approach the foreign buyers with the quotation, and after getting the quotation, if the foreign buyers, if have any clarification or if any have doubts, you can get the clarification from the exporter, and after clarified or after getting all the information, if he is satisfied, and he may place the order with the exporter. This is the preliminary stage. Second, that is called as pre-shipment stage, means after getting the order from the importer, now it's the time for the manufacture of the goods, that is called as confirmation or order. When the buyer is satisfied with the terms and conditions of the seller, you will place either a formal or confirmed order along with a signed copy of the contract. The exporter should acknowledge and confirm the receipt of such order. Means when the foreign buyer shows an interest to purchase the goods from the person or the organization, then you will place the order. Now it's the duty or responsibility of the exporter to get the confirmation of order. Means they need to get the confirmation whether they are going to place the order on a regular basis or on a formal basis, or for a period of time. So they need to confirmation. So the confirmation will be done by the getting the sign of the contract by either both the parties, that is exporter as well as the importer. Next, obtaining letter of credit. So letter of credit is nothing but it's a document which has been issued by the importer of, it's a document which has been issued by the importer, because the exporter is going to sell the goods on a credit basis, means he is not getting any amount on a or before the amount or before the selling the goods. So he need some amount to produce the product or to sell the product. So he is going to get the letter of credit called as, together with the acknowledgement letter confirming the receipt of an export order. The exporter may send a formal request to importer to open a letter of credit in his favor. Means the importer is going to approach the bank called as importer bank, and he is going to get the document called as letter of credit stating that the bank is giving the responsibility or the bank is taking the responsibility that they are going to pay the amount on behalf of the importer. So that is nothing but it's a letter of credits they are going to give the benefit. So the exporter has to obtain the letter of credit from the importer. Next, after getting the letter of credit, obtaining the pre-shipment finance. So whatever the letter of credit which has been issued by the importer, that letter of credit, by using that, the exporter can get the pre-shipment finance. That is, as soon as the exporter receives the confirmed order and the letter of credit, he should approach his bank for securing pre-shipment finance to meet his working capital requirements. Means they can approach the exporter bank and they can get the amount for meeting the day-to-day expenses called as working capital. Next, obtaining export license if necessary. So after getting the finance from the exporter's bank based upon the letter of credit or confirm order, they need to get the export license if necessary. Means export control is exercised to a limited extent in India. The problem of obtaining export license arises only in the case of few controlled items. Means there are some products or there are some items which may have the restrictions for doing the export. So if in such case they are going to do that product or they are going to export such kind of product, they need to get the export license. Otherwise, export business has been declined. Next, production and procurement of goods. So after getting the exporter's license, now it's the time for the organization or the exporter to produce the or procurement of the goods. That is, soon after securing the pre-shipment advance from the bank, the exporter has to arrange for the production and procurement of goods for shipment. A manufacturer exporter himself undertakes the entire process of production. Means they need to start the production of the goods activity. Next, after production, they need to go for the packing and marketing. So packing has to be done and marketing has to be done by the exporter. That is, after procuring the goods, that is manufacturing the goods meant for export, the exporter has to arrange for the proper packing and marketing of the products or goods. Packing must ensure proper protection of the goods because they are going to send the goods either in the form of shipment or in the form of plane or in the form of any other modes of transport. So they need to take care regarding the packing as well as the marketing. The packing material should be selected after considering the distance of to be covered, mode of transport and types of handling of goods at the port, etc. Means the packing, how the packing has to be done, it will be depend upon the mode of the transportation or the distance of the transportation. Next, pre-shipment inspection. So if the export cargo is subjected to qualified control and pre-shipment inspection, the exporter should get in touch with the EIA, that is an authority to obtain the inspection certificate. Means if there is any product which they are going to export and if there is any restriction for the export of such products, then they need to get the inspection certificate from the authority called as EIA, that is called as pre-shipment inspection. Next, central excise clearance means they need to get the clearance from the customs authority to do the export to the other country. That is, goods meant for export are exempted from the payment of excise duty. Excise clearance is to obtain by two methods. One, it is export under rebate and export under bond. Next, EC GC cover means when the exporter or the manufacturer is going to export the goods to other countries, there may be a chance, or there will be a chance of risk or uncertainty. So in order to avoid such risk or uncertainty, they need to get the insurance policy. So that is called as ECGC. So the exporter must take appropriate policy to protect him from the credit risk. Next, marine insurance policy means if the goods has been sold or it has been transported through the seaway, then they need to get the policy called as marine insurance policy. That is, in order to protect the cargo from the perils on IC, the exporter has to obtain marine insurance policy. Payment of insurance premium depend upon the type of price quotation accepted by the importer. And next, appointment of clearing and forwarding agent. Now, after getting all the requirement documents and after taking all the insurance policy, now they need to appoint the agent called as clearing and forwarding agent. Means the duty of the clearing and forwarding agent is that after getting the goods or after exporting the goods, now they need to get the clearance from the export. They need to get the clearance from the port areas or the shipment areas. So after getting the clearance, they need to forward the goods to the agents who are located in the different countries. So it is always advisable to appoint clearing and forward agent to look after forwarding work, which includes booking of shipment space, preparing and submitting various documents to the customs. Next, after pre-shipment stage, now it is in stage called as shipment stage. Means we are going to transfer or we are going to take the goods into the shipment. Either it may be in the form of either in the plane or in the ships. So first one, reservation of space in the ship. Means when we are going to transport the or export the goods to other country in the form of ship, now the shipment stage will start from the reservation of space in the ship. So first one, the exporter has to contact the shipping company well in advance for booking the required space in the vessel for shipment of his consignment. He has to provide necessary information regarding date of shipment, gross and net weight of the each package, particulars of the importers and of his and that of his own arrival and departure date of vessel, etc. So all the information regarding the shipment should be given. So that is called as a reservation of space in the ship. Next, preparation and processing of shipping document. So after getting the space in the ship, they need to start with the preparation and processing of shipping document. Means they need to prepare certain document which is required for the shipping the goods from, that is for exporting the goods to the other countries. So when the goods reach to the port of shipment, the exporter has to arrange for preparation of complete set of document to be passed on the forwarding agent. Next, physical examination of goods at the port. So the clearing and forwarding agent obtains the carting order from the port trust to cart the goods inside the docks. Means before they're going to take the goods or before they're going to take the goods to the ships, the authorities in the shipment or the authorities of the ship, they're going to check or they're going to physically examine the goods at the port areas, that is called as docks areas. So he then approaches the custom examiner who may physically inspect the goods. The custom examiner then give the letter called as let export order. So after getting the physical examination of the goods at the port, the authority or the custom examiner will give the order or the acknowledgement called as let export order. So after getting the let export order, then they're going to load the goods into the ships. That is the loading of goods. The duplicate copy of shipping bill, which is endorsed by the custom examiner, is handed over to the custom preventive officer who endorses it with let ship order. The goods are then loaded on the board the ship for which mate receipt is issued by the mate of the ship. The mate receipt is handed over to the shipping company to obtain the letter called as bill of lading. So bill of lading is nothing but it's a document which has been issued by the shipping authority. So this bill of lading will be sent, or the document of the bill of lading will be sent to the importer, so that the importer can be received the goods by showing the document called as bill of lading to the shipping authority. So bill of lading will be consist of all the details regarding the goods. What is the type of good, what is the weight of goods, and what is the quantity, and what is the color, what is the packing. So all the details will be given in the document called as bill of lading, and that bill of lading document or the Xerox or the document will be sent to the importer. So when the importer has submit the, or when it is shown to the shipment authorities, then he can easily get the goods from the shipping authorities. So that is called as bill of lading. Next, post shipment stage, that is dispatch of document. So dispatch of document by clearing and forwarding agent to the export. The details and the mode of dispatch of the shipping documents are specified in the letter of credit. Negotiating in this sense implies mailing of dispatch of set of document to ensure that the importer or his agent receives the same in the time, so that he can deliver of the export goods. So once the goods has been shipped to the ships, now it's a duty of the export to send the documents to the importer or the agents, because they need to get the goods in their country or in their port areas. So that goods can be taken, or it can be done received only when the document has been shown. So they need to dispatch, or they need to send the document to the importer or the agent who has been appointed in the foreign countries. Next, shipment font advice to importer. So after the shipment of goods, the exporter has to send the suitable intimation to the importer for his information. By this intimation, the date of shipment, the name of the vessel, date on which the goods will reach the destination should be informed to the importer. So a copy of non-negotiable bill of lading is also sent for the information. The importer gets the remaining document through his bank. So after dispatching the document, the information regarding the document, or regarding the product, or regarding the date of the shipment has been done, and regarding the dispatch of goods will be done. All the informations should be given for the importer. And next, presentation of documents to the bank. So after giving all the informations, a set of document, either it may be bill of lading, or it may be all the documents which has been get from the shipment, it has to be submitted to the bank called as exporter bank, because a complete set of document is submitted by the exporter to his bank for the purpose of negotiating the same and obtaining export proceeds in the time. That is, they need to receive the amount. So a set of document will be provided to the bank. Next, realization of export proceeds. That is, the exporter then proceeds to claim export incentives on the basis of the bank certificate. The bank certificate gives the description of the product, its value, the rate of conversion, the details of invoice, etc. The exporter is entitled to various incentives such as IPRS, DPK, and other incentives if applicable. So after getting the document, or after submitting the document to the exporter bank, the bank will issue the certificate to the exporter. So by showing that certificate, the exporter can get the some benefit or incentives such as IPRS, DPK, and other incentives. And last one, follow up of export sales. So they need to regularly check up whether the sales has been done or the not. So they need to get connected with the importer, and after they need to get all the information whether the goods has been received by the importer or not. That is, a good exporter should always have a follow up after sales. That is, he should provide necessary after sales services and find out buyer's opinion towards the product, and so on, which will help to generate more sales in the international market. Means once the sale has been done, the duty of the exporter will not be end, or it will not be completed. So we need to have the regular contact with the importer, that you need to take the information that whether the goods has been satisfied for the importer or not, whether any changes has to be done in the product. So that is called a sale, after sale services. So it has to be followed by the exporter.